Hi, everyone. Welcome to Opportunity Knocks today. How are you, Rukshan?
I'm great. So happy to be.
Good. So I am so excited because we are joined today by Rukshan Mistry. She is not only a amazing friend of mine, been so supportive through my launch with Empower, but in addition, she is a gifted jeweler and owns a company called TrilogieLA. So before we get started, what I want to do is actually just remind you all what Opportunity Knocks is. It is a weekly segment that we feature female entrepreneurs on how to make, take, create, and evaluate opportunities. It's just that simple. We want to give you hope that there are opportunities for you to take out there. It's just how you look at them. So that's why I wanted to have Rukshan on today, because she has made transitions in her life that are honestly not necessarily easy. She just kind of jumped in and figured it out and used the resources and tools that she has. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and basically, why don't we date back to like where you came from and all that lovely stuff?
Well, first, I want to say thank you. And
Oh,
it might be daily soon. You never know, Michelle, because it's wildly popular. I mean, everybody loves to listen to your interviews. They're great. And just the idea of having this platform for women to inspire one another and learn from each other and really level up, I think is super important because, we I feel like, and maybe I'm overstating, but I feel like for women, we come up with 101 reasons not to do something a lot
mm,
of times. And I think
yes,
embedded in that is fear. And
yeah,
it's really something that's kind of conditioned in our specific generation. I don't know if that's so much with our daughters. I think that they might be able to break down those fears themselves.
yes,
I think for our generation, having a community that goes deep into that and kind of just blows that up and says, no, 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 you don't, that's just an excuse.
hmm,
And not in a judgmental way, in a compassionate way. I think
absolutely.
that's really important. And that's what you're doing. And that's what makes me want to listen every week because
Oh,
I'm learning something. And I'm seeing this mirror of, oh yeah, I thought that. Okay, maybe there's a different angle to approach it
mhm,
from. And I think that's
absolutely.
super.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for saying that and recognizing that and really naming it because first of all, it means a lot to me to be seen and acknowledged. But secondly, that's exactly what I'm trying to do and what I believe that every female entrepreneur that I invite onto the show is unveiling. And it's true, it's a process, right? Being an entrepreneur or stepping into an idea or your purpose is not easy, right? But we have to face ourselves every day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I know that you and I have had different conversations around perfectionism and overcoming certain stories that we tell each other or ourselves about like what stops us. So, I I know that I've been seeing you grow, and it's been so impressive to see,
Thank you.
and I love to just see the doors that you're opening for yourselves and for yourself, I should say, because the interesting thing is you started originally with somebody, right?
Yes.
And you were like, I'm off on my own, totally different world, right? So
Yes.
anyways,
Yes.
well, thank you, thanks for saying that.
Of course. Well, I'll speak a little bit to the process since you brought up the two partners. And I
Mhm.
think that was really instrumental in me beginning. And funnily enough, I feel like um, it's a lot of manifestation, and I don't want to go too much into another realm, but that's key to how I kind of started this business. Is I was actually in a course 3 years ago at Unplug, a
Mhm.
teacher training meditation course with the full on purpose that I was going to be pursuing that path. I had a
Mhm.
couple of private clients. I was really excited about it. And it was the first time in probably 12 years that I had taken time to do something for myself. So that was one of the key things, I think. I mean, I'd slowed down, I brought in all the resources, the mother in law, the mom, my sister to help with carpool, to help with dinners, all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
I had never done in 12 years.
Yes.
So there were these, this gem of a few weeks. And prior to that, a few months before this training, I had traveled to India, like I often do, because I had an aged, elderly grandmother who's 99, who I visited once a year.
It's amazing.
And while there, I mean, it's impossible not to be inspired when you're in Mumbai. So
Yeah.
when you have a
One
lot,
day I will experience that. That is one place in Asia I have not been.
so yeah, so like most trips, I had come back with a bunch of things, a lot of jewelry,
Mhm.
semi-precious and precious, shoes, bags, tons of accessories. And during that training, I would go out with the other colleagues, in Santa Monica to get coffee and to get lunch, things that I didn't do. Of course, I do that regularly, but not every day, a few times,
Yeah. We
right?
don't have that luxury, you
Yeah,
know?
really not.
Yeah.
So, and people would comment. They'd be like, "Oh my God, I love that necklace. I
Mm,
will buy it off of you right now." And
mhm,
it had happened to me in the past, but it never happened in such a concentrated period with so many different pieces. So I happened to be meeting a friend at a school event during that same time period who was born and raised in Mumbai herself.
mhm,
And jokingly, I mentioned this to her. And I have all these, things. And she was asking about the teacher training. And I said, this is really funny because I'm wearing a couple of pieces. And every time I step out in Santa Monica, somebody says something about it. And she's like, well, that's really, we should go into business. I know all these people over there.
mhm,
I know the buyers, I know the designers. So I said, ha, I've wanted to be in fashion since I was 5, and I've never had the balls to really do it.
mhm,
Always seemed way too much of a leap. I never had the courage. And I just sort of laughed. And I'm like, yeah, if only it was that easy, right?
mhm,
But then there were about 7 days where I was sitting with intention and with, a, defining a purpose and planting a seed of what I wanted my life to be. And I don't think that I actually was thinking so much about trilogy and doing something with my friends, but I know there was a nugget of that because she mentioned it, and it was
mhm,
it was embedded, and it was a dream that was probably dormant for 30 years, right?
mhm.
And suddenly I was quiet for a number of days, and I think it got nourished, Michelle. I mean, I think that's how it started. I really believe that it was a confluence of events because suddenly it was really easy. There was a lot of energy around it. She came with, enthusiasm and actual business plans because she had a business background.
Mhm.
We had trips to India planned. We had ideas in the motion. We had another friend come in who came with her Spanish and Colombian sort of ideas and tons of excitement also.
Mhm.
We set a date for a pop up. And for the first time in my life, I was awake for 2 nights in a row with adrenaline, nervous
Mhm.
anticipation. I haven't felt that way. I remember telling my husband, I haven't felt this way in, I don't know, 20 years, maybe waiting to get into college or something. I kept
Yeah.
thinking, when did I have this feeling of such a rush, right?
Mhm.
That's when okay, I think I might be doing something that is aligned with myself now, finally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's kind of how it came to be. And I have to really credit taking that time for myself. And I thought I was going on one path. I think that's one of the things. It's like be open that when you take the time and you try, another whole path might open up,
Absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
So,
I think it's an interesting point that you bring up about, the convergence of different events happening at one time. But the one thing that's very clear, which is the antithesis, but people are learning this now about building in the time and the quiet space for reflection. And it's so beautiful to hear you say that. Um, One thing that I know about you, because of course you're a friend of mine, is you're great about setting boundaries. And I think that is an amazing way to have started your business because often people jump right in and don't take that time for, well, what are the signs and the messages that I'm hearing?
mhm.
So you could have decided that, because you had like before you even did the teacher training at Unplugged, you have a background in meditation. You grew up
Long
with it.
history. Yes, long history. And I love it.
Exactly.
I still do meditation. But here's the difference. when I tried, and this is nothing against becoming a meditation teacher, I'm not
No.
at all, but when I sat there and I tried to lead classes, I came out feeling drained and
Hmm.
physically exhausted.
Hmm.
I don't, and so, and I had to recognize that, and I was like, wow, I'm going through the day now rather tired and feeling emotionally a little bit of a letdown. And I
Hmm.
think, other people would have been pumped from that, right? Because
Hmm.
that's
Exactly.
what they need to be.
Hmm.
So, and when I realized that, planning for this pop up, and I gave me an adrenaline rush. And it takes me a while to say, okay, some people might view that because it's a pop up as shallow,
Hmm.
as frivolous. And if I'm teaching a meditation class, there's a lot of love and energy and great things you're putting out into the world. And I had to really come to terms with that, Michelle, and say, you know what? Making a woman happy because she found a piece that looks freaking awesome on her and she got a
Exactly.
good value, and I'm putting a lot of love and intention into that, is just as valuable. And
Absolutely.
it took a while for me to get there mentally.
Well,
It's just
because I think it's like how society values certain things, or how people, what their relationship is with money or with wealth or whatever it is. But I completely agree with you. It's like one is not better than the other. They're both great. It's just a matter of, who's your audience and what brings you joy, right? You get joy from it. Like you said, I purchase stuff from you, and you're working with my sister right now on her wedding ring, and I love to see you in action, and part of that is that you love to serve others.
it's true.
It gives you such joy to see that look on somebody's face that you've made their day.
Yeah. And I like to see things on people. I like to see people looking good. I mean, that's
Exactly.
great. It's
Exactly.
fun for me. So yeah. Yeah.
So
And I think that, also sales is, it's hard. I mean, sales is hard. It's putting yourself in a really awkward position for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And none of the three of us enjoyed that part. But I have to
Mhm.
say, like, finding the rhythm to be really genuine and really organic about it
Mhm.
is, that's kind of a beautiful process and is a huge learning curve. And it was something that I was happy to challenge myself with. And, saying, okay, maybe somebody's coming to me, and I've had people come to me, like they want to buy a diamond pendant for their kindergartner, right?
Mhm.
And organically, that does not feel right to me. So
Mhm.
I would talk them into perhaps sterling silver, right? That's
Mhm.
a huge difference, a $900 difference, right?
Yes.
But knowing how to navigate that, and just remembering at the core to be genuine to what is
Mhm.
right and what feels good, makes sales a lot easier. So there's a lot of that kind of just being true to yourself and realizing that it'll be fine if that's okay.
Yeah, I think the thing about sales is similar to what you're talking about with luxury goods, right?
Mhm.
Each comes, so here it is, you're facing two fears, right? Sales and luxury, and the stigma around luxury goods, right? But the reality is that A, it's in alignment with your purpose and you actually love those things. And B, is it's something that people want. So when you're looking particularly at sales, it's like, what is the, you're reaching your target market,
Yeah.
right? So and you, I mean, sometimes I don't like to use the word authentic because I feel like it's overused, now at least, but I believe that every person shows up as themselves. Like, I also never thought that I was a salesperson either, and I mean, because I was more of a strategist, but then everybody really pointed out, "Are you kidding me? Like, you're like a natural salesperson." I was like, "What?" Like, so sometimes it's like other people see things in themselves that you don't see for you.
Right. For sure. For sure.
So can you tell me a little bit about, like, I know it had been 12 years since you had worked full time. However, you did make a rather significant transition because, your background is a writer, and you are super eloquent. It's something that you're really good at,
Thank you.
a way with your words outwardly, but also a way with your words written. Not everybody can do both. So I want to hear a little bit about that journey and that process, because if you really wanted to be in fashion since you were 5, how did this surface?
So really, I mean, when I was younger, just similar to what you were saying with Lisa Breckenridge, you had her on a few interviews ago. She said, she had all these mood boards. I had all that stuff as a child. I had magazine clippings all over my walls. And to some degree, I think for my immigrant parents who were both physicians, this was like, what is happening in this room? So, um, and I would go to the St. Louis Public Library and check out Vogue's and Harper's Bazaar. Those are the only places I could find those magazines growing up. We couldn't afford a subscription. I wasn't going to ask my parents for a subscription. They weren't sold at any of the grocery stores in St. Louis. I had to literally drive, half an hour once a month and check them out. I think I was the only person who was checking them out. I don't know. And, and
Probably in St. Louis.
not
I mean,
anymore.
maybe there was like 10 of you.
Yeah. But back then it felt like that.
Yeah. Now it's very different. Yeah.
Very different now. Very different. In high school, I used to go to the library and read the Condé Nast Traveler was the only magazine where I could kind of scratch that itch in our high school library. And funnily enough, that's where I ended up working after college. But it was interesting. I used to wear giant hats to school. People would tease me and say it looks like a UFO has landed on your head, but then I would notice that maybe, a couple grades below me, some of the girls were coming in hats suddenly. I used to wear knee socks, and then I noticed that, there were as a junior, eighth graders were now wearing knee socks.
Exactly.
Fun stuff that I loved. And so after college, I went to work for Condé Nast Traveler. I didn't have the confidence, Michelle, to apply to a pure fashion magazine. Like I felt like that was a good mix.
Yeah. Well, it also combines what you love.
Yeah, and I love traveling.
Yes,
Yeah,
totally. Lifestyle. Yeah.
right. And then I had a fun. So I was at Condé Nast, and that was great. That was really the energy, and especially in the late '90s. I mean, that was a really fun time.
I mean, they were the top of their game then. I mean, yeah, I would
it was
love to work.
all for the taking.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. I interviewed with Anna Wintour.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I went all the way to the final round. And again, my husband now, but boyfriend at the time, was like, "You need to invest in an outfit from Bergdorf. So you've got to go right now, Rukshan, and get something. And tomorrow's your final interview. There's 2 candidates to be the assistant to the assistant." And I didn't, because again, it was like that lack of I'm worth that kind of.
Absolutely.
Should invest in that for myself. I didn't do that.
So you went to BB instead?
I didn't even go anywhere. I wore an old, like tweed dress that I had.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have done that. I mean, to this day, I say, okay, I should have listened to him. I should have taken, and he still tells me, he still is the one who pushes me and says, take that risk, go a little bit further than your comfort zone. And it's still hard for me. Now I do it more.
I love the fact that you have that cheerleader by your side, that extra voice that's encouraging you to go in that direction, because it could be the opposite. You
Yeah.
could have somebody telling you not to do that, and then you'd have to really be extra strong to believe that, right?
Yeah, that's true. And he has always done that for me, and it's been really good. And it comes naturally. I think for a lot of males, it comes naturally to do that.
To take risks. Yeah.
It doesn't. We want to be safe. We want to be in our comfort zone. We are kind of conditioned to think small. I really think that's true about our generation a little bit. We were sort of conditioned to think small, safe, comfortable. Don't go too far out of the bounds. You could really suffer then.
Yeah. I do think part of the reason why that is, it's partially the way we were trained as women back then, what the belief system was. But in addition, I think that generationally, we were first generation American, and most of our parents were immigrants. So it was a safety zone, right? Like, play it safe. They were already taking the risks. So they wanted us to be safer. you know?
Sure. Don't call attention to yourself. You don't need to, like
Mhm.
there's all that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, I think that's one of the things that we really need to overcome, and selling ourselves short. Like just last night, Michelle, I was packing up some jewelry that I delivered this morning. This is the seventh time that this woman has purchased the same piece from me, right?
Mhm. Wow,
She gives it
that
to her
says a
friend.
lot.
I know, it's amazing. She gives it to her
That's
friends.
amazing. Yeah.
As I was
I
packing
wanna
it,
be that woman's friend.
I know, I know. Totally. As I
How
was
do I
packing,
get to know her?
I'm going to connect you. You probably already know her. You know everybody visiting. You're like such about, I'm sure you know her. So I'm packing up the stuff and I say under my breath, it is so nice of her to think of me for the seventh time, right?
Mhm.
And my daughters in unison say, you have to stop saying that. It
Mm.
is not, she's not doing you a favor. It's not nice of somebody to come to you. Why do you approach it that way, mama? You should be approaching it that you have something amazing to give. You've spent a ton of time curating and designing, and you're giving toward a good value, and it's a gift. Why are you approaching it like she's doing you a favor?
Absolutely.
And that is so hard because to me, I think, oh, it's really kind of her to constantly think of me. It is
Mhm.
kind of her. I'm not saying it's not, but I have to bring myself up. We have to
We have
bring
to elevate one another.
our self talk, our,
Mhm.
the way we
The
approach.
negative yesterday I did a whole clubhouse on, our negative self-talk, toxic self-talk, and this is, constant, for women who have, like, huge businesses and, as a tip, just so that you know that, most of us have names for that person, so that that person can go away and your elevated self can come forward.
I
You
love
can
that.
name both of them.
That's so
Yes.
good. That's so good. I need to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question for you is, you have a lot of wisdom that you're sharing because truly you built something from nothing. You didn't necessarily have the credentials and background, but you have the passion and the love for what you were doing, and you continue to grow. Um, so what would you say is sort of the next place that you're going with Trilogy? Like if you were to predict, like in your crystal ball, like 5 years from now, what do you see? There's my daughter.
Well, I do want to be, I was in Shutters last year. That
Mhm.
was so much fun. We had to pull everything out with COVID because everything shut down. But at that time, I was expanding to be in more boutiques. I was in a boutique in Beverly Hills. Again, that had to be shut down. So that was really great. I want to do more of that. I want to be in more stores and have
Mhm.
more of a physical presence.
Yes.
COVID was great in helping me do the online presence because obviously I had all the time then to focus on that. And
Yeah, and your website's phenomenal. It's
thank,
very easy to shop and your photography is really good. Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
So I think building those strategic alliances is what I need to focus on. And again, like I don't really have much background in how to go about doing that.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that it's mostly coming from the women that I meet. Like we were talking earlier about some people, I have tons of friends who say, oh, I know the owner of this place and she commented on this necklace yesterday. Would you like me to put you in touch? So
Mhm.
I think a lot of that comes from networking too for us, and navigating that path. I think there's a lot that I have to learn there still too, like how to price stuff when that happens.
Mhm.
Every day, like that's the interesting thing about being in your own business is every day there's a different goal that I kind of feel like I have to look with a wide lens every day. So, I would love to just do the pictures, the design,
Mhm.
sourcing gems every day. That would be
Yes.
super fun. But I'm kind of forcing myself to do maybe an online marketing class
Mhm.
today and
Education.
ed- tons of education, inventory. I mean, for the boxes, for all that stuff, figuring out, am I pricing this? Am I really figuring out the best way, the best source that works in a business sense?
Mhm. Absolutely.
All that stuff every day, do a little bit of it is a lot of self-regulation. So
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I mean, I think the big it sounds like what you're saying is, which is so true, and I know that every female entrepreneur struggles with this because you're learning while you do, and
yes,
you're creating while you do. And so, like you said, you don't only get to focus on the fun stuff all day long,
Yeah.
or like, for example, for me, like, I love presenting, I love moderating, but I also have to do my taxes and, like you said, figure out like inventory. And, I have bags from 3 years ago that, my husband would love for me to get out of the garage. you know, that he's like, so you needed 500 of these? I was like, that was the price break, so I understand what you're saying. And what I love is this goes back to the risk taking, right?
Yeah.
And being willing to invest in yourself.
Mhm.
Because I look at it in some ways as, beyond like, say you became, are you certified as a gemologist? You're going that direction.
Getting,
Yeah,
I'm getting
exactly.
there. Yeah.
Exactly. So in which case, these are ways that it's like getting your master's in business essentially, because
Mhm.
you have to get certified in these different, you don't have to, but you can choose to, right? And you're designing, like you're an innate designer. You love that kind of stuff, but you have to reinvest in your business for it to continue to grow.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And you have to do it. The interesting thing too is you have to do it on your own timeline. I feel like everybody really, when they see a little bit of success, they get so enthusiastic. They're like,
Mhm.
okay, now you need to do this. Now you need to do that. And you get a
Yes.
lot of advice, right?
Yes.
And if you go a little too fast with that, that can be really overwhelming. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying you shouldn't appreciate the nudges. You should definitely appreciate the nudges because I think we
The
all need
opportunities.
those. Yeah. Yeah, those are opportunities for
Yes.
sure. But you should also give yourself a little compassion and space because sometimes, you need to absorb that next step a lot. It's scary. And so,
Mhm.
don't just like allow yourself to grow in your own time.
Absolutely.
But
It's your journey.
yeah,
It's your time frame. I totally agree with you because similarly, we started around the same time.
we
And
did. Yeah,
we did, yeah. And I feel so grateful for that because I think we've watched each other's journeys. And while we've evolved differently, obviously we have different products, but it's been interesting to watch us both grow. And I think the thing is that, like you said, so many people give you guidance or advice or suggestions, but the thing is that they're not living your journey.
right. Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Only you can. So, knowing that we have limited time and you've been
Yeah.
such a wealth of information, I would love to have you back on at some point because I'd love for people to follow your journey
Oh,
because
yeah.
I think
I love that.
you're an amazing resource for people of transparency, for people to understand like what it's really like to start from nothing.
Thank you. I would be honored to be back on.
Of course, you're always invited to Opportunity Knocks.
I have
So I wanted to
a lot of
just
things, to say because I've had a lot of missteps also, so and it's important to share that.
Well, and I think it's also that you're giving yourself that grace.
Yeah,
So, and that's beautiful. That's truth that, all women that are starting something need to know it doesn't look perfect. We make mistakes. And
for
that's
sure.
how we learn. Yeah. So I want you to leave everyone with your contact information and anything specific that you would love to share with them of new products coming out beyond your website, maybe that they can find you or signature pieces that you want them to hear about. This is your platform.
That's great. Yes, I'm always unveiling new things on the website, that's for sure. And you can sign up on trilogiela.com for if you put in your email address, then you can be on my email marketing. And I
Of
would love
course.
that.
I should do that, by the way.
Yeah, I
I
think you're
haven't
the
done that yet.
but it would be great if you do. Anybody
I
wants to sign
will.
up, please do. You can follow me on Instagram as well, which is TrilogieLA. And it's spelled GIE, TRILOGIE, and yes, we have, mostly I'm excited about a lot of pieces coming out for the summer, which are going to be very beach inspired, and
You've got that amazing ring that I have.
yes, I love
It's
that.
amazing. I wanted to wear it. I got a little lost in my jewelry box
No,
as I was coming out, but I do have this amazing piece. I get
yes,
compliments on that
that
all the
mother of
time.
pearl is so
And I
pretty.
have this beautiful piece that, oops,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, that
That's
so
gorgeous.
that
I love that.
we had sourced those in India, and that was really fun. So
Love
hopefully I'll be able to go back and get pretty
favorite.
soon now. Yeah, that was so fun. And just to see the guys make that stuff too. I mean, they were so thankful to be able to make. We have a pearl choker that I'm about to put up in a couple of weeks that I'll show the pictures of the men beating it.
Oh, I
And
can't wait to see it.
that was so, I mean, they were so thankful too. I mean, it was really like a whole village was
Well,
behind.
it's a humbleness. And I
Yeah.
think that's what you were talking when you were speaking about your daughters. That's the thing that we were taught was a humbleness that was that, it's the gratitude. It's the wow, I can't thank you enough. So, anyways, I really just want to thank you for your time. And I can't wait for the next time so that everybody can hear about your growth. And what is your Instagram handle?
It's also TrilogieLA. So TrilogieLA at TrilogieLA.
Perfect. All right. Well, I am so grateful. I love you so much. And
Thank you,
I can't
Michelle.
wait for more fun together. And thank you for imparting such wisdom.
Sounds good. Bye.
All right. See you soon, Ruck.
Bye.
Bye.